Hey guys, so what started out as a quick comparison between the DBX286S solid-state microphone preamp and processor and the Aphex Channel tube microphone preamp and processor has kind of become a video about what the hell is a microphone preamp and processor and why should you care. So why do you care? If you're into Twitch streaming, podcasting, internet radio, if you're making YouTube videos, this subject might be of interest to you. Now there are some of you that know all about this stuff, and that's fine. I will put a link to the timestamp for where the comparison begins if that's all you're interested. But if you'd like to learn more about what these devices are and what they can do for you, stick around. So first let's talk about what you might be doing today. If you're first getting into streaming or podcasting or whatever, you probably go out and you buy a USB microphone, you plug it into your computer, and you're off to the races. You might find that you don't really like the sound, you don't sound quite as professional as the next guy, as your favorite streamer or whatever. So maybe you upgrade to an audio interface, something like a Focus Scarlett 2i2, maybe even a small mixer and an XLR microphone. It's the next logical step. So if you're still not getting the sound you want, where do you go from there? And the answer is a microphone preamp and processor. So what is a preamp? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. The signals that come out of a microphone are very, very minuscule, very small. In order to get that energy up to a level that's usable, you have to use a preamplifier. All a preamplifier does is it takes that tiny, tiny little signal that comes out of a microphone and it boosts it up to something that's usable. Now if you're using an audio interface like a Focusrite Scarlett, that has a preamplifier built into it. If you're using a mixer, that has a preamplifier built into it. Even if you're using a USB microphone, there is a preamplifier built into that microphone. So if that's the case, why would you buy an external preamp? Well, one benefit is that they tend to be cleaner sounding. So, like I said before, we're taking a very tiny, tiny little signal from a microphone and amplifying it a lot. Since we're amplifying it so much, it can also amplify what's called the noise floor. So, with a cheap preamp, you tend to amplify your noise floor, and that can come across in your videos or your podcast or whatever. So, by buying an external preamp, chances are you're getting a cleaner preamp. So, of course, we're talking about preamps and processors in one unit. So what do the processors do? Well, in any of these, whether you're talking about a $200 DBX286S, the Symmetrix 528E voice processor, which can be had on eBay for around $350, or an Aphex Channel, which new run $1,000, they all share very similar features. So let's talk about what some of those features are. The first thing that pretty much all mic preamp processors are going to have is a compressor. What is a compressor and what does it do? Very simply, a compressor makes the loud parts quieter. So why might that be a benefit to you? Well, let's say you're playing some scary ass game and you get a jump scare and you scream. You don't have to say rip headphone users. If you've got a compressor, it's going to tame that scream down and present a much more even sound to your viewers or listeners. So now let's talk about another very common feature on microphone preamp processors, and that's something called an expander. Sometimes this feature is known as a gate. A gate is a little bit different, but they serve a very similar function. I'm going to explain the expander because it makes more sense. So an expander, in contrast to a compressor, an expander makes the really quiet parts even quieter. So you may notice that as I'm talking to you, you can hear some room noise. I'm using my Rode VideoMic Go on my DSLR, and I did this intentionally so you can hear what my room sounds like. And if I'm quiet for a second, you will hear the room noise. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So an expander takes that quiet part and makes it even quieter. So your room noise, you're going to be able to tame it with an expander. And when we get into the demo here, I'll show you, you'll hear a world of difference, trust me. So the next thing that's really common to these devices is something called a De-Esser. What is a De-Esser? It's exactly what it sounds like. Sometimes, especially if you're close to a mic and on certain voices, S's can come across as very sibilant. They have almost a whistle to them. You don't want that. It's unpleasant for your listeners or viewers. So a De-Esser is simply a processor that allows you to tame your S's. Very, very handy if you happen to have a voice where your S's are more pronounced or sibilant. So another common feature that pretty much all of these are going to have to some degree is some type of equalization, an equalizer. And really what these are used for is to change the volume of individual frequencies or certain ranges of frequencies. And what that allows you to do, it allows you to just control certain frequencies. Really, for a microphone preamp and processor, you're more concerned about cutting frequencies than you are boosting frequencies. But generally, this is something you're going to tune an equalizer to your ear, whatever you think sounds pleasing. So the final thing, it's not going to be on every one of these preamp processors, but a lot of them have it, is some type of enhancer. This is a subject that's a bit too complex for the scope of this video, but generally what they do is they add even order harmonics. Again, I'm not going to get into that, but we'll talk about a low frequency enhancer and a high frequency enhancer. A high frequency enhancer is basically going to add more clarity to your speech. It's going to make you more intelligible as you're speaking. Especially if you're a little further away from the microphone, this can really help. And again, we'll demo this when we do the comparisons. Low frequency enhancers are going to add fullness to the sound, generally speaking. So if you sound a little thin, a low frequency enhancer can help kind of fill out that and help you kind of cut through the mix, as it were. Like if you've got game volume going on or whatever. So that's pretty much it. Then there's going to be some sort of a output volume control, and that's really what these things do. So now we'll get into the demo section. First, I'm going to demo the DBX 286S. This is a really great value. It's $200 brand new, and if you're kind of on a budget and you want to improve your sound a lot, this is a great way to go. It's the one I started out with. The next one we're going to demo is going to be the Aphex Channel. This is a tube preamp. Generally speaking, although it's pretty close, it's more close than most people would admit, a tube is going to sound a little warmer. So this has what's called a reflected plate amplifier on the front end here, the preamplifier. And we won't go into all the details, but when we get into the comparison, you'll certainly hear the difference. Now the Aphex Channel retails for basically $1,000 new. They can be found on eBay for around $450, $500 if you want to go that way. The 528E here is out of commission at the moment, so unfortunately I'm not going to be able to demo this one for you. I also have an AirCorp Model 500PH that's on the healing bench that I may get around to demoing at some point, but today we're going to focus on the DBX and the Aphex. This is my voice through the DBX 286S solid-state microphone preamp and processor. Processing is currently disabled. I'm using an Electro Voice RE320 microphone. This is my voice through the DBX 286S solid-state microphone preamp and processor. Processing is currently enabled. I'm using an Electro Voice RE320 microphone. This is my voice through the Aphex Channel 2 preamp and processor. Both the compressor and effects are currently disabled. I'm using an Electro Voice RE320 microphone. This is my voice through the Aphex Channel 2 preamp processor. The compressor has been activated, but effects are still off. I'm using an Electro Voice RE320 microphone. This is my voice through the Aphex Channel 2 preamp processor. Both compressor and effects have been enabled. I'm using an Electro Voice RE320 microphone. The stock tube has been replaced with a JJ Electronics 12AT7 vacuum tube. This is my voice through the DBX 286S solid-state microphone preamp and processor. This is my voice through the Aphex Channel 2 preamp processor. I'm using an Electro Voice RE320 microphone. I'm using an Electro Voice RE320 microphone. So I've switched back to the Rode mic on my DSLR, so once again you can hear that room noise. So now I'm going to swing around and talk into the Aphex. And once again back to the Aphex. So I want to say thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it useful and informative, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.